Blue light, what is it and how does it impact our health and wellness? Hi, I'm Amy. Welcome to another episode of Primal TV. This episode is covering what is blue light and how does it affect our health. Dave is an exercise physiologist and a holistic movement coach. He is the co-owner of Kaizen Health Centre and the founder of the Holistic Movement Coach program based in the Sunshine Coast, Australia. Dave has a long history in elite high-performance sports conditioning and has worked with a wide range of world-class athletes. He also specialises in working with clients with chronic pain and injuries. He currently mentors and presents internationally to health professionals on integrating a holistic approach and cutting-edge movement techniques into health and fitness. Hi Dave, thanks so much for joining us on Primal TV for this episode all about blue light and what it is and how it affects our health. Thanks for coming on.
Nice to see you, Amy.
So let's get straight into it. Let's give some people an idea of what blue light is. I mean, it's kind of a buzzword at the moment on social media with biohackers promoting a lot of blue light blocking options, and everyone's wearing these funny amber sunnies, and people are like, what is this blue light and why should I be so afraid of it? So give us a little bit of a rundown on what it is in the context of natural light, synthetic light. Give us a bit of a rundown.
Cool. Okay, so light, if I'm looking out my window at the moment, if you look out your window, you're seeing what's called full spectrum light, which is made of all the colours of the rainbow, your red, orange, your yellow, your greens, your blue, your indigos, your violets. So that's what full spectrum light is. It has all the colours of the rainbow. Now, during the day, particularly, in daylight sun, that colour's quite heavy in the blue spectrum. So particularly that morning sun, midday sun has got a nice amount of blue in it. And that sends a signal which goes through the back of our eyes and hits our retina there. And there's some specialised cells there that tells you it's daytime. So that's really useful because that helps us set up our body rhythms, our circadian rhythms, and if you think about how we operate, or how we all operate, is you probably get up about the same time, you feel hungry about the same time, you probably go to the toilet at the same time, you go to bed at the same time, you feel full of energy sometimes, you might have energy lows at some time, but all your organs, in fact, every cell in your body has a circadian rhythm. And those are primarily set up by the light and dark cycles. Okay, so I've got our full spectrum light made up of all those colours. But what we've got now, of course, is our artificial light. And that's been really useful because it's allowed us to be more productive when it's darker. But there's a cost to that because particularly modern day lighting is very heavy in the blue colour, in that blue light. So, and blue light is typically kind of around that kind of 400 to 500 nanometers. That's the kind of wavelength we talk about, the technical side there. That's the colour blue. Now your LED lights, which are your modern lights, which are cheap to run and put out a heap of light, unfortunately they're very, very high in blue light. And that's what you're seeing in your screens if you're watching this now, on your phones, on your tablets and on your TVs. Also your other lights as well. So your fluorescent lights are very high in blue light as well. And, everyone blames Thomas Edison for inventing the light bulb. Well, in fact, those old school, the incandescent light bulbs, ones with the filaments in it, they actually aren't high in the blue at all. So they aren't good on energy though, which is the problem. But in terms of the amount of blue light they put out, they're actually quite low in that. So we've got blue light in our full spectrum light, and we've got our artificial light. Now the problem is that artificial light has the same impact that daylight has. So if you're at night and you've got your LEDs blaring at you from your TV, from your overhead lights, from your phone, unfortunately that sends that light into your brain, and your brain perceives that as it being daytime. So we've got a real problem there with your brain understanding what's day and what's night.
Basically confusing our circadian rhythm and getting us out of whack.
Yeah. Now, confusion circadian rhythm is nothing. Most people are quite familiar with the term jet lag, and that's when you go to another country and it's supposed to be 3 a.m. and you hop out of that place there, and your body's going, "Oh, what's going on?" And you feel like you've been hit by a bus because your body's saying, "No, it's sleep time here. I should be in my deepest sleep." And that's what your cells are saying, but your eyes are seeing this light, so you get this mismatch, which makes you feel terrible for a few days until you get your circadian rhythm back. So what we have now is we have this term called social jet lag, where we're creating a jet lag for ourselves by not matching our physiology with our environment, by creating these artificial situations of light.
Wow, that is so interesting. So there's more to it than just avoid blue light. It's about when to get natural blue light and when to block the artificial blue light for us to get good sleep. So tell me a little bit more about how it affects our sleep, because if we're talking about it's okay to have the natural blue light in the spectrum in the daytime, and there are reasons for that, there are things that it does for us, then what is it doing to us if we are getting too much of the artificial blue light, say at nighttime when the light would have naturally reduced in color and not been blue? What are the effects having on us with that?
Great. Hey, just to go to a point there, which you really you put really well, which is one of the forgotten elements. So everyone's talking about blocking blue light, but one of the things you said there is right on the money. Is that exposure to that full spectrum light and that daylight is absolutely critical as well. So it's not just about the dark; it's about the light. So if we can teach our brains, our bodies, because every cell in our body has a circadian rhythm, when it's light and when it's dark, and what time of day it is, that bodes well for us being in a natural rhythm. So getting that exposure to daylight is really important, and getting exposed to real dark is important as well. And we don't really get much real dark as well. So I wonder, can I go there before I answer that?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's rewind and let's not skip over the important part.
Here's me holding my candle. Here we go. Imagine I'm holding a candle. It's 1 meter in front of me.
Yeah.
And the amount of light that puts out is what's called a lux, L-U-X. So, and that's the measurement for the intensity of light. When I'm caveman Dave and you're caveman Amy, and we're in our cave, maybe we walk outside our cave and have a look around just to make sure that there's no predators out there. Even at a full moon, you're looking at around 0.2 to 1 lux. That's about the intensity of light you'd see. If we look at a typical living room where you might sit just even underneath your lights without your TV on or your phone in your hand, you're looking at about 50 lux. So, you've got a 50-fold difference in the amount of light that you're being exposed to. So our dark's not dark. So your brain's kind of looking at that and going, well, I'm not sure what time of day it is. It has no idea, because our wiring's still very, well, it's primal. There's your word. Yeah, we're still wired the same as what caveman Dave and caveman Amy were. Okay, so then we sit in our, during the day, we sit in our fluoro office there, which might be 300, maybe to 500 lux. Okay, that would be a typical lit office. But outside here, and I'm in Christchurch at the moment in New Zealand, and it's an overcast day, you're probably still looking 10,000 lux out there, 10,000. So again, you can see that our light's not light. On the Sunshine Coast on a sunny day, you're probably looking at 100,000 lux.
Yeah.
But when you're sitting in your dingy office, okay, all day, and you're kind of on your computer, your brain, again, it kind of thinks, well, is that daylight or what is that? It has no idea. So we're not getting those proper exposures to day and dark. And that's what we need to set up there. Now, the dangers of that, which is the actual question you asked, now that I've backtracked there, is that, well, your sleep's going to get ruined for a start. And the dangers of sleep, we can talk about that, but it's not just sleep, it's circadian rhythms across the board. So that can be your liver function, that can be your gut function, that can be any cell in your body, the way it functions. So it can disrupt any system in your body.
A good sleep is our underlying basis, isn't it, for good health? Without good sleep, we can't really get enough out of everything else we do.
Well, we spend a third of our life in sleep, which kind of tells you just how important that is. And, I kind of see some stuff here, people saying, oh, it's not all about sleep, it's not all about sleep. I'm saying, well, dude, if you don't have sleep, it's all about sleep, okay? There is more to recovery and regeneration than just sleep. But boy, if you're looking at a big
body, it's so amazing. It can fix itself in so many ways without us having to do a lot of things. And the point with that is we need to often do less, and that's the rest and recovery and sleep and regenerate the cells to let the body do what its amazing capabilities are to help us grow and help us move forward. That's, it's so simple.
it's not a shutdown on a computer where it just goes dormant. There is so much happening underneath the scenes there. Your liver's busy clearing out everything there. They've got little cells in your brain going around cleaning up all the debris and getting things right there. Those different cycles of sleep too are really important for learning, for consolidating memories. And particularly, you know, when I know we're going to talk about kids later on, I'm sure, because I know that that's one of the areas you guys work in a lot. But, you know, if you're looking at development for kids and learning, that's absolutely crucial, is to get that sleep right. Kids need more sleep than adults. That's just the way it is. So if you're looking at a 6 to 13-year-old, you know, they need probably 9 to 11 hours sleep, and it may range out even to 7 hours to 12. So my youngest daughter, Ella, she's 13. She needs closer to 12 hours sleep a night. My oldest one, she's 16. She needs a lot less than that. So as we get older, our sleep requirements actually decrease. So that 8 hours sleep, that's kind of the average for an adult. But kids need more, and they need it to help them grow and develop, and particularly to learn. That's absolutely crucial.
And so many people say, oh, I sleep fine. But my question now that I'm so much more aware of how much you can get in your sleep without knowing it and being aware, not being conscious, is how good really are you sleeping? Because you could think that you're not off just fine at, 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, and you wake up at sunrise and you feel okay. But it's the long-term effects and the changes that we're having with the changes of our light that we're getting in our house. It never used to be LED, and now it is. It's also how much electricity, how many tech devices we have around us. So there are more variables, and people might still think that they're going to sleep okay and sleeping fairly well. But my question would be, really, how well are you sleeping? Are you getting the most out of that rest time? Because I would think most people probably aren't. And there's a lot of other factors for that, like electricity and all sorts of things. But light would be one of the biggest factors. When the light is, how much good light you've had, how much bad light you've had at night, and then really how restful you are when you're going to sleep. I think that would be a big one, because it's true, isn't it? If you wake up, we were talking about this when we were just chatting beforehand about what we're going to chat about, and we talked about needing the burst of natural light early in the morning.
Yeah.
Not just reducing the blue light that we have at night, but also getting the good quality natural light in the day, but first thing in the morning. Because what does that do? Tell everybody what that really does for our whole body and then our sleep that night. What are the effects of that?
So again, it's about setting those contrasts and letting your body know what time it is. So that when that sun's highest, that's a real bonus, because nice and high in blue light, but also that vertical line comes down, and it actually is a great angle for hitting those cells that pick up those retinal ganglion cells, which pick up and help create that body clock. So there's a kind of a master clock in the center of your brain that where that gets set up. So that overhead light, strong, intense daylight, is beautiful for setting out that clock, and almost puts a stake in the ground and says, okay, that's daylight. Now I know where I am. Then when we hit that dark at night, okay, your brain goes again, now I know where it is. So they're anchor points. And there's a neat word, if you want to play Scrabble, called a Zeitgeber. Z-E-I-T giver. And I always spell out the whole thing. You look it up. And
I will.
Zeitgeber is like a signal for a signal that when in terms of your circadian rhythm, in terms of what sets up your body clock, light is the strongest Zeitgeber by a long shot. Okay. Now, food is probably important as well, and exercise can be quite important as well, but certainly light's number one. So, it's not that hard, and there's so many other benefits from getting contact with the ground, outside, natural light. I'm sure you're probably going to do some episodes on that later on, but it's more to it than that. But boy, what a great way to start your day. And that means getting your sunglasses off as well, which I know you're a fan of, Amy. Getting some sun on your skin without getting burnt would be a great thing too, to get that exposure. Mm-hmm. And then getting some real quality dark. I mean, if you're lying in your bedroom, and remember, caveman Dave and cavewoman Amy, we slept in caves. That's why we were cavemen. And it's dark in a cave. That's what caves do. So
Yeah.
if you can sit and you can wave at yourself at night and you can see your fingers, it ain't dark enough.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Oh, that you made me think of a question. Okay, so in nature we have the moon, and we would have fire
yeah,
as our light at night, and in the day we've obviously got the sun. So what about with the moon and the moon cycles and how the moon is smaller and bigger and then it goes back and forth? How does that affect us? Does that have anything to do with our circadian rhythms? Does it have anything to do with how much light we need at night time? Because I guess not every single human would have actually had a whole cave that was completely dark all the time. They might have traveled, changed
yeah,
locations with their tribe. Would the
absolutely.
moonlight have affected us during the month?
All those light sources would have changed us, and we know this even as modern humans. Both my girls that come, they're swimmers. So typically a swimmer gets up at 5 a.m. in the morning and trains. Summertime, for me, I'm very light sensitive, and this is probably why I went down the road where I went down here. And I'm as soon as it's light, I'm up. So when my kids swim at 5 a.m. in summer, it's a piece of cake for me to get up. I get up and I'm full of beans and off I go. Wintertime, okay, when it's dark in the morning, okay, my Ezekiel says, it's not time to get up yet. And I get out of bed and you're kidding me.
Caveman Dave wants to
Oh,
stay in the cave longer.
yeah. So those light sources have a really big effect, and our sleep changes with the seasons and what we're exposed to. But I mean, that's the natural way we're designed to work with light. But now again, we have this social jet lag, and your body probably doesn't know what the hell's going on anymore.
So confused. All right,
I
that's
just
cool.
want to put
Okay,
across the
so
idea of your office worker. You may have an office worker now who may get up in the dark. Okay, they flick on all their lights there. Okay, they'll probably dim lighting. They'll hop in their underground car park. They'll drive. It's probably still dark in the morning. They'll go in their underground car park again and go in their dimly lit office. They'll stay in their office all day. Maybe they won't even get out of their office. A lot of people don't get outside at all.
mm,
They'll go back home in their car, go into their dark room, put on their TV and their lounge room lights. In terms of those signals for what's day and night and contact with the earth and all the other things around grounding, I mean, yeah, what is your body supposed to think about that?
it's like it's functioning on a lower level than optimal because of just
Mm,
what it's exposed to. And that is
yeah,
scary. And when I first started learning about light and how it affected us, I think the first thing I learned was blue light at sunset wasn't great. So
yeah,
because of the natural light outside, and when you're outside in
mm,
the day and you're a bit more aware, you
yeah,
can see the light change. It's phenomenal. When I'm sunbaking in the daytime, it's a very blue
mm.
tinge. And then towards the end of the day, you can just see the orangey
It's pretty
sort of
orange
color.
color.
And it's
Yeah,
so obvious when you
yeah,
actually
tell
look
you.
and think about it. So
Yeah,
my first step was to reduce blue light after sunset by putting salt lamps, upstairs. We have a townhouse. It's 2 stories, and the first step was to put a salt lamp on, so I wasn't reading to blue light. I was reading to like a nice orange light, and that instantly noticed that my mind was calmer quicker. My body was feeling more relaxed, and even though I'm a really light sleeper and probably always will be, I don't know what is going on there, but I didn't really feel like I slept better, but I felt better going to sleep. And I knew that had to be a positive thing because, I go from watching TV and sort of wired, doing things, cooking dinner and talking about the business and doing normal things. It wasn't really a wind down period until I sat in front of that orange light and felt really relaxed. And that
mm,
was a nice way to wind down. And then learning about the fact that you need to change what light is going into your eyes and how much is going onto your skin. Then we sort of started changing our lifestyle up a little bit more, but adding in the good light was a big one. I could have easily just gone forever blocking the blue light at night time, and that's one aspect, but it wasn't until I learned about what you were saying about that first thing in the morning light, the
right.
way it changes during the day, and that basically a human is designed to be outside all of the time, to
Yep.
be exposed to the natural light in the way that the natural light comes and goes. I try to get outside as much as possible. And not everyone can, not everyone is able to revolve around light and
Mm,
nature. And the next episode, we're going to talk about tips, really practical tips. But
mm,
but that getting that natural light in the day as much as possible and then reducing the blue light at night is just I definitely notice a difference for that. I feel more awake in the morning when I sit outside at sunrise, and especially in winter when you do want to stay in bed and you're rubbing your eyes a bit longer. And then the reducing that blue light at night really calms me down. So I'm thinking in terms of people who live a high stress life, who are unhealthy as well. Kids, a lot of kids on the spectrum these days are going through lots of mood and behavior changes, learning difficulties, physical development challenges. Our bodies and our minds are at such a lot higher amount of stress for such a longer period of time than what humans would naturally have been exposed to way back. That's got to be coming down to sleep, light, as well as food and other lifestyle factors. But light would be a big one, wouldn't it? Especially for high stress individuals.
Absolutely. And I love that idea of that salt lamp, and we do salt lamps and candles. And
candles, candles are fantastic because that's the orange light.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Well, that's what we did with cavemen and cavewomen, is we sat around the fire, which is very low in blue light. And same with your moonlights. It doesn't have that same blue, that blue color, which signals daylight. So perfect way of getting your night sources of light.
And cheap. It's a cheap way. And we'll definitely delve into those things you can buy and things you can do in the next episode. But just to start with, a salt lamp in a room is without other blue light around is just such an easy way and safe. You know, we've been talking about flames and kids. A salt lamp is a really nice calming way for kids to go to sleep at night when they put their tablet down. But yeah, kids, we're noticing a lot of the kids that we work with, the parents are reporting that the kids have a lot of mood and behaviour difficulties. Obviously, the learning difficulties with what they can absorb from the teacher and what sort of environment. But definitely a big one that's coming up is that parents are supplementing their kids with melatonin. I really want to delve into melatonin because I know you have a lot of great information on that. And so many parents with the ASD kids are having to give them melatonin to help them sleep at night. So let's talk a bit about what you know about melatonin.
Okay. Melatonin is often known as the sleep hormone. But think of it as like a chemical representation in your body of dark. So your melatonin levels start to increase as the sun sets. And melatonin production peaks around halfway through your sleep cycle. So let's say you went to bed at 10 p.m., it would peak at 2 a.m. if you woke up at 6 a.m. So kind of halfway through that cycle.
Okay.
And that's what melatonin normally does. And think of it, one of the neatest ways that I've heard melatonin be described, I can't remember who I stole this off, so you'll have to excuse me.
Credit unknown.
Is imagine you're about to start a running race, and you've got the starter there with a gun, bang. That's what melatonin does. It gets all the sleep processes started. So it is useful stuff to have. So the idea that often is, okay, if you take melatonin, it will help you get sleepy. Well, that's reasonable, but melatonin is a representation of dark. Why not just go dark? Yeah. So,
mind blown.
So the issue with melatonin, well, there's a number of them. If you look at things to try, and we'll give some ideas of things to try to help you sleep better. Melatonin will be about number 42 on my list.
Wow.
It's way down the list. There's so many other things you should be trying first. And the obvious one we've talked about so far is light and dark. So melatonin is a hormone, and it's amazing that you can actually buy a hormone over the shelf or by iHerb or whatever else. Now, in Australia you can, in New Zealand it's a bit harder, in some other countries they have some regulation, but on the whole, melatonin is very unregulated. Imagine trying to buy testosterone across the counter. Yeah, but with these two, when they've tested these supplements, the doses you get, you're playing roulette. You don't know what you're getting. Now, the issue with that too is, okay, we talked about melatonin peaking in the middle of your sleep phase. So you take melatonin before you go to bed, well, your melatonin levels peak right then and there. So now you've got a phase shift where you've got melatonin peaking at the wrong time. So that can create a whole lot of different problems for you. So
the intentions there, parents are hearing from practitioners or advice on the internet that melatonin helps you sleep, and it's not that black and white, but the intention is to help my child sleep better so they function better in the daytime, but they're not understanding maybe how melatonin naturally works in the body And I have read that by taking a supplement form for a long period of time, it can prevent the body being able to then get it itself naturally. It confuses the system so much that your body then goes, I don't know how to get my slow increase and decline naturally after I stop taking it. And therefore, people need to be on it forever.
Those hormonal cycles are very, we're talking about a couple of, think of a swimming pool, a teaspoon of salt in a swimming pool. That's kind of like the concentrations of hormones we're talking about here. So when you start messing around and throwing stuff in, well, what you're going to get is anyone's guess. And that interplay between melatonin is a really important one. So what we often find with light exposure, for artificial light exposure at night, is melatonin levels just plummet. You'll lose 70% of your melatonin just like that over your light there. Now, melatonin levels are not, and the issue too is not only that, is you'll lose melatonin, but it'll hang around longer in the mornings too. So that's where you wake up and you'll feel really groggy. In that morning time, your cortisol, your stress hormone, your get up and go hormone, they should start coming on. But you kind of get this whole problem now where you've got cortisol, which is encroaching through your dark with the stress of being wired and not being able to get to sleep. Your cortisol hormones are high at night, okay? But then your melatonin levels are low where they should be high. They should be exactly the other way. And in the morning, when you've got that melatonin hangover, well, your melatonin hasn't cleared up properly. So now you've got this grogginess from your melatonin and your cortisol can't kick in. So those two should seesaw, but now we're kind of creating more of a, well, who knows what's happening with those.
I remember, I'm the only child, so I didn't have siblings running around with me, but I remember as a kid, me and most kids generally had a fair bit of energy first thing in the morning. I'd get up before mum. I'd be like, oh, I want to play. I want to do stuff. Come on, mum, hurry up and get up so I can play. And these days, kids are tired in the morning. They don't want to do anything. And I've been lost for why that is, like why are kids so low on energy first thing in the morning. Now I'm understanding it's probably they're just not getting the right sleep, and then that's coming from factors in their life that are during the day and during the night. Yes. That's a real problem. Their melatonin and cortisol is just way out of whack, and they can't wake up properly. And then school is starting later to give kids longer to get into gear in the morning, and then they're probably not winding down really well at night because they're sitting in front of blue light right before sleep. Yeah. And that's a problem. So, it makes so much sense to me now but it's not good. It's not healthy. It's scary.
I quote the other day from the founder of Netflix, and they're saying that sleep is our biggest competitor. So I kind of thought, wow, that's what you're fighting. The idea is, let's start the next show so you stay up for that one rather than go to bed. Next episode.
I'm guilty of that, but I'm usually wearing my sunnies at the time. But even just getting to sleep at the right time, a show. I love my TV at night. That's what Clint and I do to wind down. And I watch TV, and it's so easy to finish an episode and not realize the time. But we're so much more aware, and I am more sensitive, I think, to different factors of my sleep and health, and I'm so conscious of things, and I can just pick it up more. I'm more in tune with my body that I know it's getting to a point where I'm feeling tired. The sunnies, the blue light blocking is helping me feel tired. I shouldn't fight it by staying up to finish the episode. I should just get to bed because my body is telling me it's ready, and being more sensitive is a good thing because you can listen to your body and know, all right, my body's winding down, my mind's winding down, it's just time to get to bed. Because if you fight it and fight it and fight it, you're just pushing back. I guess you're making the hormones fight even more than what they should be and prolonging what you need. And if your body's telling it to you, then you should be listening. And I think that's a positive thing about being more aware and more educated and more in tune is that I can my decision of, no, it's just time to go to bed just easily outweighs, oh, but I really want to finish watching the block, It'll be there tomorrow. There's catch up, there's recording, there's no way to miss an episode of anything anymore.
So one of the things that, and I know you guys are into this, nature is such a great teacher. And when you go away camping, you get taught about your circadian rhythms. You're sitting in your campground, well, hopefully, which is, if it's not a modern camping ground where distractions are around, but
there's camping and then there's camping.
let's go old school camping.
Let's go old school camping.
You might sit around your fire for a while, but then it gets 8 o'clock and you're sitting there going, oh man, I'm beat. Okay, you go to sleep. It's pitch
Oh
black.
man, wow, it's early and I'm tired already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have the best sleep if you wake up in the morning and you wake up at 5 a.m. when it's light. You get out there and you go, oh man, I feel great. And you run around all day, get that light exposure, and the same thing happens. A few days of that, you feel amazing.
Yeah.
And that's your body being taught really how it's supposed to be surviving in our.
Even adjustment. Some people get too sleepy from camping if they're getting the right exposures because they're not used to it. The body's going, whoa, I'm not used to this circadian rhythm change, and it can take a few nights at least just to get used to it. And I think the more often you go, the more in tune with the changes you get, and the easier it is to settle into that. But yeah, when we were talking about camping last time, it's made me realize today's camping is not necessarily the best camping environment because we've got so many LED lights. All the camping gear is LED. It's cheaper. It lasts longer. It's bright, so you can light up the campground with very little money and power, and it's crazy. And back when I think when Clint first took me camping when I was an adult, I didn't go camping as a kid. We had, I think, just a little lantern, like a gas lantern or something, and that was in the light. Yeah, we just probably had and it was probably more orangey because it wouldn't have been LED bulbs back then. And then we sat around the fire, and then we went to sleep, and I woke up early, like, what's all this noise? There's birds and there's light, and it was so different. But today, and I've worked in a camping store, so I know what they sell. It's just very, very modern and blue and bright, and you're sitting there with the plate on your lap around the fire, but you've got your head torch on, which is often a bright blue LED light. And so modern camping can actually be sending us away from the benefits of being outdoors. So if people are starting to go camping more often, I would even do it like a blog post on how to go camping old school to get the benefits of it and to cut through all the confusion and the brightness of today's options and products, because I think that's people could go out and get all the gear and go, right, I'm taking the family camping, we're going to go back to nature, we're going to get firelight, we're going to get up with the sun, it's going to be wonderful. They go buy all the camping gear, and they're suddenly like, oh, hang on, this is all blue and bright and light and intense. You can put LED strips around your tent, you can put LED lights around your guy ropes so you don't trip over them. It's like everywhere, tent lights and fan tent lights and all sorts of things that aren't going to help. Might as well be at home.
Yeah, that's right.
Old school camping is the way to go. So I'm definitely going to do a blog post or something about that. So there's a huge difference. If people are going to go the effort of camping, because it can be a lot of effort with kids, do it old school. I love that. I get people thinking, sorry, BCF and all those camping stores, we're going to get people buying the old school things. Cool. All right. So basically, in summary, just for what we've talked about, natural daylight, when it's available, is the best and brightest kind of light that gets our daytime hormones ready to go.
Yep.
And then the nighttime synthetic light is keeping that up and not letting us come down to sleep. So if we're getting this bright blue unnatural light at bedtime and during the night, it's keeping us awake, and maybe not wide awake, but low quality of sleep. And then that's affecting how we feel in the morning. And it's just this cycle that we just can't break out of until we switch things up, get rid of the synthetic light at nighttime, increase more daylight light on our eyes and our skin. And that's going to help us be more productive and sleep better. So it's not even just the nighttime light factor, which I think is a good place for people to start. It's when they're also getting that daytime light that's going to help them that night come sleep time. So it's, like you say, day and night, light and day. It's that simple, and we need to think back. That it can be so hard and confusing, but that coming back to that point, I think, is key for people just to understand the differences.
Great start, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what's been your experience? You've done a lot of research on the blue lights and the synthetics and blocking it in front of our eyes and different things. So what's been you said you're a sensitive sleeper, and specifically at different times of the year and seasons. So what was your experience with light and sleep, and what got you into all this, and then what changes have you noticed in your health and the families?
Okay, so yeah, I'm very light sensitive. So if I ever go away places, I'll always take a mask with me, because if it's light in my room, I'm screwed. Yeah, I won't sleep well. I know it straight away. And I've been to some places where I've kind of thought, you've got to be kidding me. There's been a ridiculous light switch outside my window, and I'm going, oh, you're killing me here. This is not what I signed up for. So I'm very light sensitive. As soon as it's light, I'm up and about. My brain's very wired for that. Now, I've always thought I sleep reasonably well, but I started studying sleep for myself and for some clients, probably more importantly, because I started realizing just how important sleep was. So I started measuring sleep, then looking at interventions. And, I've used that word Zeitgeber before about that signal for our circadian rhythm, and light came up number one. So the obvious thing was, well, how to optimize that. And it became pretty apparent that blocking blue light at night and getting a good light source during the day to set up those cycles was really important. Okay. So I went on a search to start looking at, I thought, well, I better find myself a good way to block blue light. So then started looking at, okay, how do we block blue light? So you can put filters or apps on your phones, on your computers to block some of that blue light. They are somewhat efficient, but remember, screens are made of pixels, and pixels have all different colors. So you're still going to get a fair bit of white light that comes through. Getting one on your TV is going to be a pain in the butt for you, and putting them over
cellophane over the TV.
Yeah, you can get those, and you can put them over every light in your body, and in your fridge when you open your fridge, in your toilet. There's a lot of lights. So the obvious way, the biggest signal is into the body is through the eyes. That hits that master clock and sets up that pineal gland and that whole circadian rhythm. So that's the obvious place to block it to start with. So I started looking at blue light blocking glasses rather than trying to put covers over everything. That was an interesting search in itself, and maybe we should go there now. I started looking at blue light blocking glasses. So I ended up buying probably 20 or 30 different pairs from different manufacturers. Now, some of them I just bought outright, and some of the manufacturers actually contacted them first and said, can you send me through the spectrum of your glasses and what they filter? And a lot of them got back to me and said, I have no idea what you're talking about. I was thinking, hang on, you're selling blue light blocking glasses and you have absolutely no idea what your lenses are blocking. And they really had no idea. No. All the ones I got back, a lot of them couldn't supply me the data or didn't have the data. So what they were supplying, Lord only knows. The quality of some of them, I could actually see that partway through the lens, it changed color. So that's the sort of quality that I was looking at. And unfortunately, I've actually got a whole lot of them too, because I often bring them out, but I'm traveling at the moment, so I didn't bring a whole lot of pairs with me. And looking at the ones that were supposed to do the same job, I was thinking, it is not possible that these lenses are the same. So buyer beware, because there's a lot of people that jumped on the bandwagon when they started looking at this blue light blocking. And if you haven't done your homework or looked at the standards of what's out there, you'll end up getting caught out with what you're buying.
Any new product that takes the world by storm, and it's this new health thing, there's always going to be dodgier versions of what we really need, and it's always something to be so aware of. So I'm so excited to delve into all of that in the next chat. We're going to give some gold information to people about what to do, because I fell for the trap of initially buying the wrong pair of sunnies, and I had them on for a long time to block the blue light at night, and it definitely wasn't the right color. If I showed them to you, you'd probably laugh and say, oh, Amy, I'm sorry to break it to you, but they weren't great. And it's because I was afraid. I'm always trying to get healthier. I'm trying to get, healthier and more well all the time. That's just my goal all the time, is going from being sick all my life to just always trying to get well. So I tend to start learning the basics of something, and then I might try a solution that's really popular, but I don't understand it. And I don't quite understand what I'm looking for, what I'm buying, what I'm doing. And then I realized later on I needed to understand it better, and I made the wrong choices. So if we can give people more awareness and more education before they go down that road of trying to fix things, I think that would be really valuable, because I wish I had done a bit more research, but I don't necessarily understand the research, but I need it in English, I need it in layman's terms. So we'll definitely give that to people. But overall, if people watching are just more aware that there is some dangers with nighttime blue light and lack of daytime sunlight, then that's something. Just to start with that, understand that big impact on our health, big impact on our moods, because and sleep is something we think maybe we're getting it okay, and we think we're all right, and we tend to blame our health problems on the symptoms. We try to treat all the little symptoms and don't necessarily realize that the cause can be something so simple as sleep, and that there's a lot of I guess factors with sleep, a lot of layers to our sleep. And if people start thinking about their sleep, what time they're going to bed, how they're feeling when they go to sleep, what light they're being exposed to then and in the morning and during the day, and just start being aware, how is that making me feel? That's a good place to start, because we can't tell people how they're meant to feel and how they're feeling now. They need to feel it, own it, but this is what my sleep's doing, this is what my health's doing. Do I want to take a step to start changing that? Oh, no, I'm good, I'm okay with it. It's up to people to make that decision. So I think this has been a great overall picture on blue light. I learned a lot just from that chat, so I'm grateful for that. And the next episode will be really practical tips. We'll go right into the sunnies, the lights, the candles, everything, and we'll get into it. It'll be awesome. So thanks, Dave, for your advice and your information today. I think it's really valuable for people watching.